Hey, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always on this Football Friday, and it's official. Brack in Studio K, along with sweet baby producer extraordinaire Damon, Dawg. We preview the Arizona Cardinals home matchup in week 1 of the preseason against the New Orleans Saints. Marvin Harrison Jr., what to expect. What do you expect, Brack, on this Football Friday?
Well, as expected, the music slapping a little bit harder as we are on preseason opener eve. I mean, I think that was expected. Also, seeing all the great people in the chat, I always expect to see that. Illini McGee, Andy, Ken Weber, Jack Smith, Tommy, Schaff, Ozzy, Red Sea, Emily, JoJo, Junior, Jules, Felix. I love it. That's right. HTL, baby. Hit that like for your favorite Cardinals podcast, PHNX Cardinals. Johnny, good to see you, my man.
Good to see you, my friend. We were off yesterday, and you weren't. You worked damn near 7 days a week. You were at Glendale for the Cardinals wrap-up of training camp officially. Like a lot of people don't know. So training camp, by the time the preseason comes, the team leaves Glendale, and they go to Tempe, and they start their regular routine en route to more or less the regular season. So we put a bow on training camp yesterday, and with that bow came the news, Brack, that Marvin Harrison Jr., unlike Kyler Murray, is going to play in the preseason. Now, we don't know what lengths he's going to play. If he's going to play in all 3 games, I would highly doubt that. But number 18, the 4th overall pick, will debut tomorrow at State Farm Stadium in some capacity. So I'm going to ask you, because we haven't talked about this off air, what do you expect in terms of playing time for MHJ tomorrow?
I would expect max 2 series from the 4th overall pick, probably 1 if he gets a couple catches in it. If he's the anti-Malik Neighbors, he doesn't just go out there and work on his cardio, get 12 snaps and 0 targets. I think that they'll work him in, similar to what we saw from the first team last year. 1 series, I think, in the opening preseason game. We saw Paris Johnson Jr. for what, the amount of snaps that I just outlined, probably a series and some change for sweet baby Marv.
Do you feel like after watching Malik Neighbors, albeit with Tommy DeVito, that it is a mistake to play Marvin Harrison Jr. with one, we would assume, Desmond Ridder? You don't. You're very much in the camp that Desmond Ridder has enough cachet, enough game experience where he can take care of the 4th overall pick. Because by the actions of the coaches, this is probably the biggest, not indictment, this is the biggest coup that you can get, in my opinion, give to somebody like Desmond Ridder. Like, we're not going to throw you out there with backups that we don't feel like can do you justice, that we don't feel like can get you the football. I think this is a big coup for Desmond Ridder. Am I wrong?
The Riddler, you're a bit hard on a guy who's nearly 500 in this league, but I agree that he's more well-equipped to be a backup in this league. And sure, that doesn't give you as much confidence as your starting quarterback, Kyler Murray, who had an outstanding training camp. And the team just kind of believes the preseason doesn't need to play. According to, Drew Petzing, they like where K1 is, but also according to Petzing is, what Marv would benefit from playing in preseason games is just getting used to NFL game speed. What is November 25th, 2023? What happened that day?
It's the last time you played a football game.
It was, against Michigan Wolverines in the rivalry game. That was the last time Marv was out there on the gridiron when it mattered, when he was making big play, putting the Ohio State Buckeyes on his back and trying to lead them to a victory. It came up short, but, I think that he would benefit from getting out there, getting into, true football shape, facing defensive backs that aren't his own teammates, and, getting into the rhythm and timing of this offense, albeit without his starting quarterback. But it's important, especially since this offense is based so much on timing. And I think he can still get some of that with Desmond Ridder back there.
It's unfortunate what happened with Rondale Moore and his injury. And that was the returning piece to the Atlanta Falcons. And it was so bizarre that day when that trade happened. You and I were on the phone, and we had heard that Rondale Moore had been traded, and we were speculating. I'm like, oh, player for player. And then it ended up happening. And I don't think Rondale Moore was going to be a key focal point. It sounded like in their offense, not to throw shade at a guy who just was lost for the year, but Cardinals have to be very happy with the return of what they've seen from their presumed QB2. If he is already putting himself in a position, and this isn't speculation, like he is listed above Clayton Tune on the depth chart. Like coaches can still be high on Clayton Tune, and I'll eat crow on this. We were told they were very high on him coming into this training camp. Desmond Ridder has outplayed him, and that's why he's earned this spot. And so if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you've got a backup now on a rookie deal that's played in the NFL. And again, I cannot love the fact that MHJ is going to play with a backup and still like the idea of Desmond Ridder being the Cardinals backup. You know what I mean? Especially when you consider what Colt McCoy was unable to do last year. Wasn't mobile, didn't have the arm talent, right? And Clayton experience. Well, outside of the arm talent, Desmond Ridder kind of gives you all of those things you want to see out of Desmond Ridder, and to a lesser extent, Marvin Harrison Jr. tomorrow. Can they sustain drives, right? Can they pick up first downs? It was a big problem last year in the preseason. Remember a couple of preseason efforts last year by the Cardinals? They literally couldn't cross midfield, and a lot of people put it on the talent, but really it was the byproduct of the quarterback play. I mean, they were a tough watch last year. This team, depending on who they're going to trot out offensively, should look night and day different. Like the Cardinals are somehow, I'm assuming this is because Kyler Murray's not playing with our friends at Bet365. They're a 1.5 point underdog at home. And like the New Orleans Saints, come on. Is Derek Carr playing? Like Desmond Ridder might be able to beat Derek Carr like straight up as a starting quarterback. Hell, he may have done it last year.
Right.
So I'm cautiously optimistic. I've had 2 days to think about it. If the Cardinals are of the mindset that Marvin Harrison Jr. is in good hands and it's worthy for him to play in the preseason. And hell, like we're doing the show right now, Tank Dell's out in the preseason, CJ Stroud's playing right now. We mentioned Malik Neighbors last night. Maybe there is some value. I'm willing to be courted over and sit on our post-game show, our phenomenal post-game show, by the way, tomorrow with Britton Golden and company, if things go well.
Desmond Ridder 1-2 in 3 career games against the Saints. So he has experience, obviously coming from the same division. And I hope that, Desmond Ridder, he asks you, do you accept this rose? And you take it. And that's where.
You think that's something he's going to ask you?
But look, I mean, as much as you said, he had a strong camp. I wouldn't say that, he left Clayton Tune in the dust, even though, Clayton Tune probably wishes he could have played better in training camp and still has some time, especially in these 3 preseason games where he's going to get a ton of snaps,
right,
to prove himself. But I mean, I can't tell you though definitively like that Desmond Ridder, outside of his resume as an NFL starting quarterback, has separated himself from Clayton Tune, right? Like I think that just based off his resume, but as far as the play in the training camp, like I think you could say like, yeah, Desmond Ridder was just a little bit better, but like he also wasn't lighting the world on fire. But also it's like you got Kyler Murray, and then I think you got like Desmond Ridder, and then you got like Clayton Tune. It's the separation there between the 2 backups isn't so extreme.
I need a little bit more margin for Kyler there. Like Kyler's on the roof, he's on the ceiling,
right? For our podcast listeners, my hand was not completely out of the picture. Damon wants it out of the picture.
I want it on top of this building here in downtown Phoenix.
You want me to go to Mr. Fantastic across the street?
Nice reference, my friend. Here's what I'll say: like Desmond Ridder, the mobility is a real thing. The mobility is a real thing with Desmond Ridder. Like, and that's going to play a big factor in if he ever were to play. Just like, by the way, the mobility with Joshua Dobbs last year was a big deal. Like the direct runs that Drew Petzing ran with Joshua Dobbs, you're not doing that so much with Clayton Tune. Like, I don't think it's apples and oranges, but there's some similarities between Dobbs and Desmond Ridder and the mobility there. So I also think if you were ever to game plan around Desmond Ridder, you would know full well that this is a short to intermediate passing game, and you're going to try to run the ball 50 times in a game. So it's about limiting the mistakes and who can do that the best. And you mentioned, Clayton Tune still maybe being within striking distance. I've just seen Clayton Tune have too many turnovers, too many bad throws, pick sixes in practice. Like at training camp, that's going to get you beat. Whereas, sustainable drives, if Desmond Ridder can show that, even if it's a run dominant drive, and you just have command of the offense, check at the line of scrimmage, the audibles, all of that has come with experience. That's worth its weight in gold for the Arizona Cardinals to know can Desmond Ridder at home beat or on the road and beat the Carolina Panthers? He's done it before in his career. The Cardinals play the Carolina Panthers. Could he beat, the Seattle Seahawks late in the year at home?
Yeah.
Definitely capable of doing that. We have Clayton Tune has.
He would have been the best quarterback on this roster at this time last year by a wide margin.
We would be. Well, first of all, he was in line, and he did start for a team that had playoff aspirations last year. A team last year, that's like complete like a world flipped on its head. The Cardinals had a quarterback who couldn't throw in training camp, competing with a 5th-round rookie that was not by any means ready. And then across the pond in Atlanta, Georgia, the Atlanta Falcons thought a 3rd-round pick out of Cincinnati could take them to the postseason. Both of those things ended up not being true. And now it's how fast this league changes. It's like bizarro world. So all that to say, it is if he secures this job and looks good in this preseason, it could go down as a pretty shrewd move for Monty Ford, especially when you consider what he didn't have to give up, premium picks to secure a backup. I mean, like, look, the Cowboys gave up a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Do you have Trey Lance or Desmond Ridder? Trey Lance looks awful at Dallas training camp.
Man, I remember our independence from Atlanta, Georgia, all the way across the pond.
Across the pond.
Do you remember that? That was unbelievable.
It's not a figure of speech. It was literally a pond they crossed to get there.
You'd skip a rock across of it. Yeah, it was. I hear what you're saying. But I think also, getting back to Marvin Harrison Jr. playing in this, like, I hope you've talked yourself into a comfort level with MHJ going out there and catching passes from Cardinals number 19.
No, I don't I don't
what is your main? He's not going to I doubt the Honey Badger plays, but let's just use this because they're playing the Saints. Like, he's not going to lead him over the middle into Tyrann Mathieu, putting Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the game and out for the foreseeable future. Like, I just don't think that Ridder he takes care of the ball. He's made throws in his career, not consistent enough to be a starting quarterback, but enough to where he's going against a half of a Saints defense, he'll be fine.
I'm going to look like the biggest ass if he has like a long touchdown to MHJ, and it's going to be the greatest highlight of the preseason and training camp. And I came on the show multiple times this week and said, no, I don't want that. And in reality, if it happens, of course, it's going to be awesome. And I think there's a window now, like with Malik Neighbors and the no-show last night. And again, that was out of Malik's control to some extent, but that's part of the rationale we use because the Giants are so dismal at QB and backup QB. If Marvin Harrison Jr. and the game's not, I don't think it's not on national TV, is it?
I think it's on NFL Plus. I think that's the only way you can catch it. So no, the answer is no.
But you get some people. I mean, we've talked about it. Multiple sports books have bumped the Cardinals over under from 6.5 to 7.5. We had heard through kind of some sources that was going to happen. A lot of money is coming the Cardinals' way, and he's a big reason why. Like, as quiet as the Cardinals camp has been from a national level, the perspective has been Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like the real deal. The clips that you've been posting, the articles that Craig Morgan has been writing, check them out right now, by the way. I saw Ken had a great comment in the chat saying he's been loving Craig's content. You and me both, my guy.
Yeah.
Again, go phnx.com. I mean, the word is out that even though he's steady, he's quiet, like he's the number one receiver, and he's looked like that in training camp. So if we get a sneak peek of that, and knock on wood, nobody goes down, nobody hurts themselves in the process, then it's going to be looked at as a huge roaring success.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to get that rhythm and timing down, what Michael Wilson talked about with us at the Radio Row and at the Super Bowl, where he was saying like when he's going to get out of where he's going to want to get out his break, and just kind of getting used to the turf at State Farm Stadium and just getting into it. Like he gets shut out, and him and Neighbors have 0 targets combined in their first. And I think that there's value to it, just for him to kind of knock the cobwebs off, even though you shouldn't expect it on a guy that's going to be 23 in 2 days.
Yeah. Well, November 25th. Is that when you said? So
yeah.
I mean, what is that roughly? Like 8 months, 7 months or something? It's a long time. And again, unlike Darius Robinson, Darius was playing in the Senior Bowl. Darius had pads on in a bowl game you know,
against
Missouri.
Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean,
Missouri
coincidentally,
yeah.
I mean, Darius is. I mean, you can see with Darius's play, he just hasn't missed a beat. That's one of the other, you know, big points of emphasis we're going to highlight tomorrow. Both first-round picks are going to be on display. It's exciting to see. Let's check out. We've got a couple super chats to kick off the show. Potato Bread, $4.99. We finally made it. What's some of y'all stat predictions for the rookies this Saturday? I think perfect segue here. I'll go first. I think Marvin has a catch for a first down. I think he plays one possession. You give him an opportunity to maybe leave it open if he wants to play against Indy. If not, no problem. And then on the flip side, like Darius Robinson, I'll say he has a tackle for loss.
Wow, TFL. I'd love to see it. I think he will, and I think he'll get maybe just a little bit more playing time, just because out of necessity, the defensive line has been playing with the twos. They'll be in that rotation too, so he's not going to be he's not going to go play a series where he's playing every single snap of that series, where you could see Marv go out there and run a route each and every snap of that series. So, yeah, I agree. I think he's going to get a target. I think he's going to be undeniable. You got a 6'4" playmaker that is any quarterback is just going to be looking for when they get their opportunity to throw the football. So, yeah, I think it's absolutely happening. And let's see. I'm going to say he's like 2 catches for 16 yards.
Wow. Okay. I feel like he'll beat somebody for a gain of over a first down. I feel comfortable in saying that. I mean, hey, nobody's really seen him unleashed yet. And the Cardinals don't want to show too much. We know that. That's every team in preseason. But just, I mean, if you're Desmond Ridder and you've got a 50-50 ball, let it rip as long as it's within striking distance for MHJ. What about this one? Josh, $1.99. My sweet pie, honey bun, MHJ, heart emoji. Wow, you said it. You said it well, my friend. Big article, by the way, on ESPN today. I don't know if you saw this, Bo, in relation to Marvin Harrison Jr., his jersey. The drama continues. There's court rulings, and Fanatics can file another suit. And basically, it was one of those memes where it's like, I'm not going to read all that. You know what I mean? Like one of those posts, but basically,
he's like, I'm good for you, or I'm sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear
responses. That. Yeah.
It was something to the effect of the Fanatics thinks they have Marvin to a commitment. Marvin is stating that the commitment came from his family's like company, and that it included his dad. And Fanatics like, no, it was you. So that's what they're fighting over, and it does not feel like it's going to be over anytime soon.
Right, and Ian Rappaport had reported on the red and white scrimmage day that from a request from Marvin Harrison Jr. and his camp that his jersey not be sold as they sift through this legal battle. And, you know, people had tagged me and sent me a trash article, you know, saying that equals Marvin Harrison Jr. is embarrassing the Cardinals. And nobody, if anybody's been around this organization or followed it a little bit closer, would realize that nothing that Marvin Harrison Jr. is embarrassing this organization. People are proud of number 18 and understand that the business side is ugly sometimes. And it's not an indictment on the fourth overall pick. That he's going to be, you know, tough to deal with going forward. It's just a ridiculous jump to conclusions situation there. So
embarrassing. This is your first time around this franchise. Come on now. There's 2 years ago when Bo Brack joined this fine podcast, the embarrassment lasted for about 7 months straight.
How dare you?
Not even the on the field.
I was just doing my job. How dare you say I was an embarrassment to this organization?
Not in relation to my co-host fine reporting. The Cardinals couldn't go like a week's period of time.
The incident board was
off the field issue.
Yeah, it was always at 0. It was at negative days without incident. It was bad.
We're going to break down who has the most to gain versus the Saints. We're also going to talk about this ridiculous proposal of CeeDee Lamb for Michael Wilson for draft picks, which, by the way, the Cardinals would never do. And also check in on what's happened with Haason Reddick, because training camp came and went for the New York Jets. Haason Reddick, nowhere to be found. You love to see that. You also love to see big-time deals going on with our friends at Game Time. Right now, my wife texted me earlier today. She said, did you get us tickets for the preseason game? And I said, no. I said, but here's a link to download Game Time. and you can use the bonus code because she hasn't taken advantage of the bonus code yet. 20% off with the bonus code PHNX right now with our friends at Game Time. Do you have it pulled up? Mine's loading here. What is the cheapest you can get into State Farm Stadium for preseason?
I believe like $3. $1 actually.
Yeah, I'm seeing $1.
Yeah, $1 will get you in. I'm just gonna see where that is. So
$1
easy to use Game Time, by the way. $1, you get. See, open it up. $3 upper deck. You can get lower upper deck for $4.
Ooh.
You can get lower bowl. How about $8? You can go see the Cardinals. $8. Your caddy corner to the north end zone there. And you can these are some good deals. And you can get parking for
$1.
Real cheap.
Park in the yellow lot right now for $1. So again, this is your first time using Game Time. Welcome to the best ticketing app there is. We're going to get you $20 off. And by the looks of it, $20 is going to get you your entire package ready to go to take in some Arizona Cardinal football. Like you want to, if you're thinking to yourself, I want to go watch Marvin Harrison Jr. make his true Cardinal debut, it's not going to cost you a dime right now with our friends at Game Time. Nobody else can tell you that. It's the premier ticketing app. And as my co-host said, you talk about last minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last minute. So theoretically, you could wait till tomorrow and maybe they'll be cheaper. Maybe they'll be sub at $1. And it's not just outings like sporting events. They've got concerts, comedy shows, theaters, much more. And again, it's an all-inclusive app with everything beyond tickets, as we mentioned, parking passes, right? VIP access. You can get flash deals into like the second and third quarter of basketball games. It is the only ticketing app I use, and it's a call to action right now. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the bonus code PHNX, $20 off your first purchase, no questions asked. Terms and conditions apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, Bo, lowest price guaranteed.
Guaranteed. If you need to hire, also we'll guarantee you the best place to look is Indeed. You need Indeed. That's right. Indeed is matching and hiring platform with 350 million people globally monthly visits, according to Indeed data. They've broken it down. They know what they're dealing with. They know how many people are going to Indeed. You can receive a $75 sponsored job credit just by visiting Indeed.com/AllCity, and you'll get $75 off with a job credit there. You join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent, and they do it fast. They get the most qualified professionals at the forefront, right to the front of the line, and they get them right in front of you so you can make the great hire for you and your company. We love what's going on. In this minute that we've just been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed according to their data worldwide. They get it done. They get it done fast. When it comes to hiring, don't go searching for the one when you can just meet your match with Indeed.
Yeah, Indeed. Big time place to do all your professional hiring. Check them out right now. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit. Michael Penix, according to our GM Saul Bookman, balling out right now in preseason action. Interesting what's going to take place there in Atlanta across the pond with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. Like this video, by the way. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. We got over 330 watching live on this Football Friday. We appreciate you. Jump into those YouTube comments. Tell us who's got the most to gain from a big-time performance. Bo and I, we put our collective minds together today, and we put together a list of 4 players that we believe have a chance to really help themselves tomorrow. Because, again, for guys like James Conner, Trey McBride, even in MHJ, it's like maybe you go through the motions, you get through your cadence, but then there's some guys we know that are bubble guys or fighting for a starting job. So Here they are, Bo, our top 4 most to gain tomorrow night against the New Orleans Saints, starting with the aforementioned Desmond Ridder.
Got to separate himself from Clayton Tune and lock in that backup quarterback position. This is game 1 of 3 for Ridder because we know that K1's not going to play in the preseason. It's just going to be beat down to him and Tune. And if Ridder can go out there, operate this offense, look, real smooth and consistent, show off his mobility, but also make plays downfield. Obviously, as you mentioned, this can be, an offense that's going to hand it off a bunch of times. But when that box stacks up a little bit, can Ridder, take advantage of it and find some throwing lanes, get into some rhythm passing situations, and show off the ability to maybe find some explosives downfield, something not necessarily known for. But if Ridder can just go in there and be efficient and run this thing and operate it and look a little bit better than maybe a Joshua Dobbs, I think he'll be in a great situation to really lock down this backup quarterback spot.
Yeah, looking back last year, he played the New Orleans Saints, coincidentally, did Desmond Ridder in the finale for the Atlanta Falcons last year, 22 of 30, 291 yards. I'll give him credit here, 73 completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Could have very well been, it was in fact his best game of the season. And then in the matchup earlier in the year, 13 of 21, 168, right around 62-yard completion, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. So you average that out, pretty average quarterback, right? But he can have his ups, certainly against the Dennis Allen defense. How about number 2? Is he moving up as the RB2 for the Arizona Cardinals? DeMercado, the undrafted free agent, hurt himself, shoulder injury earlier this week. We would presume, Bo, he is not going to play against the New Orleans Saints, is Amari DeMercado, which opens the door for what I believe was probably the most egregious placing on the depth chart. Michael Carter Jr., 5th on the running back depth chart. He's got a chance, along with Trey Benson tomorrow, to tote the rock the large majority of the game. Like DJ Dallas, he's going to be returning kicks. Maybe he'll get a couple snaps offensively. Michael Carter Jr. has a chance to go out and say, you know what, guys, even if that was just a placeholder on our camp depth chart, I'll take offense to that. I'm going to run hard. I averaged over 6 yards per carry last year for this team. I'm not rooting for DeMercado not to make the team, but this is exactly what Michael Carter Jr. needed to have happen, a window open to go out and show this team that, this is the one position, in my opinion, in the preseason where, 2s, 3s, 1s be damned. If a guy can run the football, they can run the football.
Yeah, just go out there and get a couple explosive run plays would be huge for him. Maybe get a catch. Doesn't need to put in a ton of mileage on his legs. There are, 3 other, not a lot younger, but younger running backs that can carry the load. As you mentioned, well, not DeMercado, but you've got Trey Benson, who we're excited to watch. And then you've got DJ Dallas, who will get some carries, I think, in this game where he wouldn't necessarily get some in a regular season game.
Right.
And then Tony Jones Jr. will probably be mopping up in the 4th quarter. But if Michael Carter can early in the first half get some, nice plays under his belt, that would do, I think, him wonders. And maybe do something that people don't expect him to do and pick up in some pass pro and do some things that they weren't expecting. Like, he can catch the ball in the backfield. That, he can tote the rock, but can he be as versatile as they want all their backs to be, showcase that ability?
They have to know, in my opinion, that if Michael Carter is allowed to hit the open market, he will be claimed by a team. I saw a clip today. Zeke Elliott looks bad at Cowboys camp, and they're counting on him, and he's putting the ball on the ground. Like, you're telling me Michael Carter Jr. is not going to be claimed off waivers? Like, again, if the Cardinals deem that, hey, we're just so stacked at the position, we don't need him, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you right now, James Conner, and we love him, is another year older, and he always misses at least a couple games. And then you're putting a lot on a kid that was playing the ACC last year and saying, hey, Trey Benson, take on the workload. Even DeMercado just got spot starts here and there and spot carries on a team that clearly did not have any expectation. Michael Carter Jr. has been in the NFL for 3 or 4 years, has been very productive, I would say is about as consistent of a player that they had down the stretch when he touched the football last year. I think the same argument we're making for Desmond Ridder, steady, sure-handed. I think you could make that for Michael Carter Jr. I think it would be a mistake to let him go.
I agree. I think a guy like DeMercado could be somebody. I know at one point he got a starting opportunity, but I think you could, in a perfect world, slip him onto a practice squad. And I don't think the same could be said for Michael Carter, where when you got the Cowboys of the world, maybe the Cowboys would know. I mean, DeMercado played nearby TCU. Maybe if they'd done their homework. I don't know if Jerry was paying too much attention to the Toads there. I mean, Zeke looked like he was Seth Rogen in Superbad. He's like fastest kid alive. He's got his hands on his knees after just doing a couple easy reps in Cowboys.
Is that a joke? Camp. Are they serious with that? Like,
I don't.
Who else is in that? First of all, they're not paying CeeDee Lamb.
Like I agree with like letting Pollard walk, right?
Right.
Like there's sins at running back, like one drafting Zeke as high as they did, and giving as much money, and then Tony Pollard. They're learning, but they also didn't do any work as far as finding some sort of backup plan. And they've got an over the hill Zeke Elliott just producing hilarious training camp clips for us to laugh at.
So Dak's been hurt with an ankle. They're holding him out of practice. So it's Cooper Rush with Zeke Elliott and no CeeDee Lamb. I mean, like, sign me up for that with the Dallas Cowboys this year. By the way, Trey Benson's going to make his debut tomorrow. Jonathan Brooks for Carolina remains injured. I think they underestimated how long he was going to miss time. It sounds like it's going to go well into the regular season. So by default, the highest drafted running back that's healthy right now is going to be in action tomorrow at State Farm Stadium. Yeah. I'm fired up about that. I'm also fired up about this cornerback group, Bo, because Max Melton, Garrett Williams, I would assume are going to sit. So it's going to give guys like Starling Thomas and Keitrell Clark every opportunity to showcase what they can do. And this is probably one of the biggest surprises of camp. Starling Thomas and his play, his ball skills, his ability to cover downfield. Like I'm not going to say he's made the team, but he's pretty close to solidifying a roster spot. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I know he's one of the a victim, as many of the cornerbacks have been this camp, to Kyler Murray's full complement of playmakers, from Marv to Michael Wilson to Trey McBride to Greg Dortch. Those guys were on it and real impressive. But Starling Thomas did flash. He did have a strong camp, and he can continue to strengthen his hold on a roster spot, I think, with a strong showing tomorrow, and get in, get out, and then let everybody else feast on what the leftovers are. Because I think Starling Thomas would probably play less than a Keitrell Clark, who needs to get back up to speed after missing some time. I think you're right. Garrett Williams hasn't been practicing. I'll assure you that Jonathan Gannon doesn't believe it's serious. He assured us that nothing was serious with Max Melton. He returned to practice yesterday, which I think might be too late for him to get into the game. But could be surprised. And then you got a bunch of guys that would be fighting for roster spots that I think Starling Thomas can easily, even with a poor performance, has already done a good job in separating himself from that group.
Let me ask you a question kind of off topic here. Any concern as it relates to B.J. Ojulari now injured and Garrett Williams missing time with those two draft picks from last year? Do you truly believe, like, if they had to play a game in the next couple of weeks, that Garrett Williams would be ready to go?
I think he would be. He spoke to the media recently, and just basically, like, there was talked to a couple people in the locker room, and was just saying he's not worried about it at all.
Gotcha.
If the scenario came up where they got a game next week and it meant something, I think he'd be in the lineup.
What about Owen Pappoe? Will he be in the lineup with the starters tomorrow? Kazir White, full participant this offseason after missing the end of last year with an upper body injury. Chris Barnes, you would assume, is going to play a lot. But Pappoe, 23 years old, the second-year player out of Auburn, who didn't do much last year. And, the Cardinals, they had some veterans, take up majority of the starting lineup. Now Pappoe, pick 6 in camp, staple on special teams, projects as a long-term project for JG and Nick Rallis defensively. I mean, do you feel like that there's just not enough competition where Pappoe's kind of assured a roster spot? Or do you think that there's still like an avenue in which he doesn't make this team?
I think he's trending towards one. I think he had a really strong camp. As you said, the pick 6, I saw him get in the backfield for what would have been a sack if you could hit the quarterback. He's doing a lot of things for this defense. The @freak on @TheFreak on Twitter. Great handle, because it matches his athleticism and just how freakish he is. And we knew he was going to be a project coming out of Auburn, right? A guy that's very young who played 5 years in the SEC that, would fit perfectly with the right development and maturation in Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis' defensive scheme and system. And I think that he's starting to kind of show them Gannon said that things kind of clicked for him late last season, started to click for him late last season, and he's continued to show that. So like really excited about the two starters and Kazir White and Mac Wilson Sr. and then Chris Barnes is depth. And then I think Owen Papo certainly could be in that room to start the season.
From inside to outside linebacker, PR Mac, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, PR Mac. Edge rushers need to show up tomorrow, even against backups. As you probably noticed, we don't have any edge rushers on this list because right now, in my opinion, Bo, they're all made men. They've all are going to live to see another day, at least temporarily. Now, the Arizona Cardinals made a move today, as you reported on the X Twitter app, that Marquise Haynes, who was just signed this week and looked, I thought, pretty good by all accounts, was released by the Cardinals. This is coming off the heels of a Carl Lawson workout, which some are speculating is not going to lead to a one-year contract. What can you tell us about this group? Like they've got a roster spot open now.
Right.
What are they going to do with it? Tell us.
This is more your lane, right? You'd love to get people going as far as where Monty Ossenfort could pivot, but like there's going to be a lot of guys that played significant snaps last year playing in this game tomorrow just because there aren't a whole lot of them. Like I'm sure we're going to see a whole lot of Tyreek Smith, a whole lot of Xavier Thomas, and Jesse Luketa, but and Cameron Thomas. So those guys are going to play a lot of snaps tomorrow.
Can I ask a question on Jesse Luketa?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a little ridiculous that Jesse Luketa is now back at outside linebacker after he played offense for this team last year? Like
he never left outside linebacker. He played fullback and team.
But that was like his role on the team last year.
Right. Wait,
and
now that they've been able to add talent to the roster and churn this thing, and they've got guys that can play fullback and have experience.
Right. Like a Tip Ryman can do that.
Yeah. It's like Luketa's versatility is not that getting him to another level is going to end, right? He's never going to.
That's the point I'm trying to make without being a smartass. It's like,
I hear you.
We got guys on the team right now that there was not a spot for them at outside linebacker last year, partially because they couldn't perform. So like they played fullback, and now he's just like back at pass rusher. Like we're good. No, you're not good. You don't have anything legitimate really outside of your two starters, and you could even question that. So I'm trying to be like respectful, but also like tongue in cheek. Their depth chart is guys who played fullback last year at pass rusher. That's what we're talking about right now. Monty Ossenfort, come on now. Let's get some momentum to bring some people in that can help this pass rush.
It's Zaven Collins. It's Dennis Gardeck. It's Victor Dimukeje.
Is it?
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. Victor Dimukeje, I thought, was significantly older. He's only like 24 years old.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something there. He had 4 sacks last year.
Yeah.
I think those three are safe, right?
I'm excited to watch Xavier Thomas play tomorrow. He needs to have a good preseason. Not to make this team, but I think he can carve out a role for himself.
I think anything you get from a 5th round rookie, you're like, thank you, football gods. I don't think there should be, and I'm not saying you're saying this, I don't think there should be an expectation like, oh yeah, we really need our 5th round pick to show up for us No, you should have invested a premium resource on a pass rusher, whether it be in free agency or the draft, crossing your face. Like if he turns into Dante Stills 2024, you're on your hands and knees and thanking the football gods with your hands like this. But otherwise, like you just kind of take what you got, especially from a guy. And I like Xavier Thomas. He wasn't productive rushing the passer at Clemson. He's just going to turn it on and be awesome at the NFL level, like immediately. I would venture to say his rookie year is going to look something like Owen Papo's last year.
I hope not. I think he's going to get a little bit more run than that. It was a good snap, though. That was a solid snap of your fingers. Your pass rush looks like this right now without the addition of somebody.
Okay.
As I mentioned, Zaven Collins, Dennis Gardeck, I think Victor Dimukeje, maybe Xavier Thomas, and then your versatile guys, Darius Robinson, Mac Wilson.
So you're only carrying 4 outside linebackers.
No, I think you probably carry 5.
Okay. So who's getting that spot?
between
TBD. No, I don't want to hear anybody currently on the roster getting that spot. I'm saying to you, somebody that's not currently listed on the Cardinals team site needs to have that 5th spot.
Yeah.
Not Joe Blow practice squad guy, respectfully. Like if we're in a position,
Joe Blow practice guy,
you need that jersey, Joe Blow practice squad guy. If we're in a position where this team, like the Cardinals are really fired up for this year, not that they weren't last year, and you want to be taken seriously, I'm sorry, you can't be starting guys or playing guys at pass rusher that played fullback for you last year. You just can't. I just won't allow it. It's not a thing that I think would be in the team's best interest. You ought to be able to find somebody. Like very positive that they went and worked out Carl Lawson. Yannick Ngakoue continues to be available. They haven't pursued it by all accounts. I do want to bring this up. I retweeted it before the show. Haason Reddick's situation with the New York Jets is reaching DEFCON 5. He basically no-showed their entire training camp. No one has heard from him. He has been fined so much. This is from, I believe his name is Connor Hughes from New York media, Connor J. Hughes, saying we're getting to the point in the Jets where Haason Reddick's holdout, where whatever money he would get with the contract adjustment and incentives will simply cover what he's being fined. Good Lord. He won't make anything additionally. This thing really doesn't make much sense to me. He's already been fined $1.2 million. He'll be fined an additional $940,000 if he holds out through the first preseason game, which of course he's going to. The way it was explained to me today, the ball's in his court. Whenever he wants to show up, he'll show up. This is, I mean, if you are Monty Ossenford, I think you swoop in because the Jets team is the Jets team. I'm sorry. Yeah, how is it going to look if you trot this guy in like week 5 and you're like, hey, come save our pass rush? Like against the guy, if you're Robert Saleh, you're ready to move on. And the Cardinals could be in an advantageous position. I've put out 100 feelers. I even reached out to Connor today. I've yet to hear back from anybody. I am waiting on bated breath to see if the Cardinals have any interest, because I'm going to tell you right now, you are lying through your teeth if the Jets, if you're thinking to yourselves, the Jets won't take a phone call. Of course they would. Of course the New York Jets, with one of their prize free agents, would basically opt to pivot because it's been such an embarrassment for them.
Yeah, I don't know how you can preach this team being a unified front, team guys, not me guys, and then you go out and get a player that's put on this display.
Because Jonathan Gannon coached him and he had 16 sacks.
I know you've got two different parts of your party. Like Cardinals fans watched Haason Reddick be, a good player and teammate during his first 4 years of his career.
Ideal
with the organizational malpractice. Absolutely. But look, his actions right now don't match up with what organizationally the philosophies of this organization. And I think it would be a little bit out of character, in my opinion, for them to enter, conversations for Haason Reddick.
I don't respectfully, I don't think you can be Boy Scouts 100% of the time and expect to take the kind of jumps you want as a franchise. Like if you're hitting on 95,
monitor the situation, monitor it. That's all you need to do right now, because tomorrow's game doesn't matter. It's preseason. Next week's game doesn't matter. And the game after that doesn't matter. So keep monitoring the edge rusher situation, because right now there's just no reason to be knee jerk to it. I just don't.
Well, I don't know if we're knee jerking, but here's why I'll push back. Your timeline of your rebuild publicly is over in terms of viability and being competitive and winning games. That happened the minute Kyler Murray came back, played well. You doubled down on him. You're paying his salary. You have an expectation of have a winning record this year. When you invest one resource in a pass rusher in 2 drafts, not counting Darius Robinson, and that pass rusher goes down, guess what? You don't get to use the cop-out of, you know what? We need more time to rebuild. You've opted. How many draft picks have they had in 2 drafts? Double, over 20.
9 and 12. So,
21 draft picks. And how many in the top 100? Half of that, right? A ton. And you use one of them on a pass rusher, and the kid blew out his knee. And that's really unfortunate, right? You had big expectations for him. But BJ Ojulari was hurt last year during the offseason. You knew that. He came into camp not ready to go, and you had every opportunity to say, we have a lot on BJ Ojulari's plate. We think highly of BJ, but you know what? Let's go and take the necessary procedures and practices in free agency to make sure we have a fail-safe. A Danielle Hunter would have been a fail-safe. They opted not to do that. And the minute you chose not to do that, you left yourself vulnerable to something like this. And unfortunately, it happened to you. So you now have to put yourself in a position to be uncomfortable. You have to put yourself in a position not to let down your fan base or your defense. I have full confidence, Bo, that they're going to scheme their way defensively to some wins this year. But I just, with a pass rush group of the Dumacagis, the Gardex, and even Zaven Collins, his career best was what, 3.5 sacks last year? That's not a realistic recipe for success to make the postseason, in my opinion. You need something else.
Right. But if I were to be like Jim Cramer, the Mad Money guy, and I'm monitoring the market right now, it's just not advantageous for you to go out and make a deal. And to go and bail out the Jets probably doesn't, it's not the best time to strike right now. Just bide your time, continue to let, and I know you know a lot about your current pass rush room because it is basically the status quo from the previous season, and just continue to monitor it. Like there's like adding, even if they added Carl Lawson or they added Yannick Ngakoue, it doesn't do anything for the Cardinals right now. It just doesn't. Like it doesn't put them in a position to get to the playoffs here on August 9th.
Well, hey, I want to address the comment here. Jalen Blair, who's a big friend of this program, rational people never thought this was a one-year rebuild. Fans are getting impatient and want to microwave this thing instead of slow cooking it. I'm not saying part ways with first-round picks and go all in this year.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit ridiculous to suggest that this team with Haason Reddick, you're mortgaging your future. Trading a third-round pick and giving a guy a 2 or 3 year extension, paying a little bit more.
The guy hasn't shown up to work.
I think that's a byproduct of the New York Jets. That's a Jets problem.
What was going on in Philly? Philly felt like, hey, we can just trade this guy out of here. This is a guy that had 17.5 sacks on their way to the Super Bowl.
What I was told is because they got rid of everybody that was a Jonathan Gannon guy. Look, their entire defense. They drafted a bunch of new defensive tackles, and they got rid of everybody that was a J. There was probably no bigger JG guy in terms of being a recipient of JG's coaching than Haason Reddick, unless your name is like Reed Blankenship. But all those guys, the cornerbacks, the edge rushers, they got rid of them all. And it's unfortunate for the Cardinals of the situation as it was with Philly and Howie Roseman, because I really do believe, I don't believe this, I know this, if Haason Reddick's on one of the other 31 NFL franchises, they pursue Haason Reddick. He's probably an Arizona Cardinal, but they will never do a deal with Howie Roseman. So now,
the fact remains, and Angels making it, and he's trying to be, pro Reddick, is he wants a new deal. 29 years old. He wants a new deal. He wants new money, bigger money.
Who are you paying?
I understand that, but you don't just start, like, you're changing the precedent that you set as far as the type of player that you have, the character you have, how you operate, and how you make yourself available to your team, your teammate, your coaching staff, and then also, what you're willing to pay a player, especially as somebody who's exiting his prime years.
The Cardinals have $35 million. They opted not to use it. Right. They could. We're talking about Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter and Haason Reddick are like the same age, right?
Right.
And if you were worried about age and timing, Jonathan Grenard was 27. You didn't want him. You made it clear none of these guys fit our timeline in free agency. But you were not in a position, in my opinion, now in hindsight, to not add help at pass rusher. And you and I sat here and did show after show in March and gave them the benefit of the doubt. And now, in my opinion, it's time to be critical. And they have an open roster spot. And let's see if they can make the most of it. Jalen Blair back with a $2 super chat. How many games AZ wins with the current pass rushers? I mean, I had them winning, what was it? 10 games, and you had them winning 9 games with the current roster that included B.J. Ojulari. I would say B.J. Ojulari is worth about a win. I would say I'll knock him down to 9-8 right now. Unless they can pull a rabbit out of their hat defensively with this pass rush group, I would say probably about 9-8 is best case scenario with guys that have career 3.5, 4 sacks starting at edge rusher for you.
I mean, doesn't Haason Reddick want like $25-30 million a year?
I mean, like, but again, you're paying 2 safeties this year, $35 million.
17.5 at 26 years old, right? Or 27 years old. Then his production goes like this to 11. He's 29. And he wants right before he's 30, he wants $25-30 million a year.
Would you pay $30 million in a 3rd round pick this year to make the playoffs? Everybody in this chat would do that.
But I think as far as what you're building, and as far as drafting and developing, and that's what's been beaten
100%
throughout this organization. That's how they're going to build it. And he's like, hey, but our guy went down. Our main resource for sacks went down. So we're going to just do something completely different than what we've done so far.
No, I think it, well, yeah, it is different, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. I mean, like, you're telling me you wouldn't want to go in the next offseason with B.J. Ojulari is going to go in the next offseason rehabbing. He's going to be rehabbing and he's going to be on the Kyler Murray timeline. So you can go in the next offseason. You don't have to then spend money on a free agent in March. You can have Zaven Collins under contract and Haason Reddick. And then guess what? You add a pass rusher in April. You and I can argue about this.
I think Monty Osborne, at the end of the day, regardless of what he has in cap space, isn't going to make a bad deal just to make a deal or just to add a player.
I think it's a special set of circumstances for a player that
I don't think we know that just yet.
I disagree.
I mean, I'm just as skeptical about the pass rush as you are, but I'm not saying, hey, hit up the Jets and let's make a deal for Reddick or anybody right now.
I think had he not played for the Cardinals, and there are people who still know him from his time here, and Budda Baker played with him, and had he not excelled for Gannon, I think you can say this is a complete unknown. We don't want any part of this. I think there's just too many parties that are familiar with him. And maybe Gannon, I don't think this is the case, behind closed doors is saying that's a headache. We don't want any part of that. I think Jonathan Gannon behind closed doors is probably saying we could use another pass rusher. We need some help here. We don't have any guys. I mean, like, I don't think it's a crazy thing to suggest right now their best pass rusher is a rookie, and he was picked 27th overall. Like, I wouldn't shock me at the end of the year if Darius Robinson led the team in sacks. That's not ideal, right? With like 6.5 sacks.
Right. And that was the leader last year too. That was Dennis Gardeck. Look, I mean, you need it even with a jump of production from guys returning, Zaven Collins leading that charge. Like you still, I think we're going to be a little bit lighter in the sack production than was necessary to get to where you want to go.
Jalen, it's going to feel like I'm picking on you, man. He says, I would feel better about doing the Reddick thing at the deadline. Number one, your deadline deals always cost more. And number two, you're going to get him for less games. What happens if the Cardinals are 3-5?
We don't, what's it going to look? I mean, let's try to let's get in the DeLorean and gun it to 88. Let's get to the deadline. Has Haason Reddick played a game for the Jets?
I don't know.
Because I don't know if that creates any more leverage. I don't know if the deal looks really any different. If he hasn't played by then, you could get him probably for cheaper.
I don't think they're trading him, though, at that point.
Why? He's just sitting at home, not helping the team. I think both of these guys, and I'm guilty of bringing up Judon in my own. Like, I think both of these guys who are in, with Reddick, he's holding out, and Judon's holding in. He's at least at the facility.
Well, he's been practicing.
Yeah, it's just.
Here's the difference.
It doesn't match what they're building here. It just doesn't.
Here's the difference. Judon is on a team with no expectations. They just cut Juju today, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to pay a 31-year-old.
Can they just cut Judon?
That'd be great. I think that's where you stay engaged. And you're like, how about a 5th rounder? Just take this guy off your hands. I mean, he's participating. Reddick is not participating in anything for them. He missed the entire training camp for them. That's alarming. This whole thing is alarming. We're going to try to get Connor Hughes on the show.
Are you making the point for who? For yourself?
For the Jets to feel a sense of urgency to wash their hands of this.
It's weird that the Jets they look like a bad organization. Could they be? Are they a bad organization? I'm shocked. Damon, are you shocked by that the Jets are a poorly run organization?
I mean, they've been one of the staples of the NFL in terms of, what you look up to for so long that, that's pretty shocking.
Yeah.
Junior in the chat, if this team isn't near 500, no way in hell they trade for Reddick. Absolutely, because then you're clutching your draft picks even more. Oh, that third round pick could be pick 65, 67, whatever. And then nobody's going to want to do it. Like Haason Reddick, in my opinion, and you'll disagree with this, Haason Reddick can help you win week 1 if you get him into the building.
Let me say this, though. Haason Reddick, Matthew Judon are good players. They can be had for day 3 picks. Like I won't decline that. But their guy, as far as how it matches up with the culture that they're building here, how they want to build their team and how much money they want to spend or don't want to spend, that just doesn't match up. As far as the variables, there are some things that I think are non-starters for the Cardinals as an organization and negotiating a deal for either one of those players.
I feel like your timeline doesn't fit what I think the national perception of this team is now, when you've got a 29-year-old, 28-year-old running back, the captain of your defense is an old safety, and your franchise quarterback just turned 27.
Here, look, your quarterback just turned 27. Quarterbacks play at a decent level until they're like 35. I mean,
we're worried about Kyler Murray's long-term health, and he's not playing in the preseason.
Let's talk about the new pillars of your organization. Like, you just infused this roster with a ton of young controllable talent. Your left tackle, your top target in the passing game, your second target in the passing game, your third target in the passing game. They're all on the rookie deals right now.
You just named a bunch of players on offense.
I know. Well, and then you got Darius Robinson on the other side of the ball. I mean, I won't throw BJ in there just because of the unknown.
You can't.
No, it's more routine than it's ever been as far as knee injuries. And then, you're reworking your defensive secondary, sure, where you've got an older Budda Baker, but you just drafted with 3 day 2 picks, Garrett Williams, Max Melton, and Elijah Jones.
So I'm confused about, I get the pillars of your organization now, but none of those players help you rush the passer.
I know. But look, this roster was absolute garbage. What Ronnie Osborne inherited,
what they did needed to be done. But again,
look, the NFL has become wise to, if you have a good pass rusher, you keep him, right? And they're just not available. And like, when you look at the two guys this year on the free agent market, Danielle Hunter, Jonathan Grenard.
29, 27, yeah.
Grenard goes north to the Vikings, and then you've got, Danielle Hunter, who wants to join the new trendy team in the Texans and still get paid. Like, I think that the Cardinals, coming off a 4-win season, as much goodwill as Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon had created, I think like it's tough still to get in, to negotiate with those players when they're going up with the Vikings, who are in, like, looked at as a decent roster right now, even though the quarterback could be the thing that sinks that. And the Texans, it's tough.
I think you and I are just going to have a fundamental disagreement on this, because I'm looking at it from the perspective of what a player like Reddick can do on a team like this. That is, in my opinion, I think the Cardinals are a pass rusher away from being a playoff team. I think you can almost put that to bed with as good as the secondary has looked. You've revamped your defensive tackle group, and the offense should be top 10 in the NFL. Like, I really do believe, and you and I can differ on this, that the pass rush could make or break this season. And like, we're not talking about an underperforming group. We're talking about a group of unknowns and underachievers, not underachievers, that's not fair, of guys that maybe have a ceiling to what they're able to do. And we talked about this defensive line group last year being the worst position group in the NFL. Like, how many pass rush groups are you taking ahead of the Arizona Cardinals at edge rusher in the NFL? I mean, I think you can make a case right now. This is maybe the worst pass rushing group in the NFL,
Yeah.
based off of what they've done in the past. And when does that ever correlate with big time success? A 9, 10, 11 win season.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that the expectations are a lot higher, especially here in Arizona, than they are nationally. But there is still so much to prove. And I think if this Cardinals team in 2024 opens the season and makes the case that, hey, we're a pass rusher away, Monty Osford has time between then and the trade deadline to fill that need. And if he doesn't, you say, what happened? Why did they fall short in trying to acquire somebody that's going to at least get them to postseason, but at the same time, like getting to the postseason and giving up assets and then future cap dollars, just it's something that, you know, where's it going to take you eventually? Is it going to get you to the last game of the season? I mean,
I think you're
down about this team.
I think you're downplaying the impact of what a playoff berth would mean for this franchise in year 2.
I'm not at all.
I mean, if we're talking about, we want to be in the right direction. I mean, they're going to build off. They're going to win more games than last year. They're going to be viable. I think everybody will be very disappointed if we're sitting here at the halfway mark.
You think the pass rush is going to be worse than last year?
Well, they were 30th in sacks last year.
That's overall. They were a top 12
30.
team through 11 weeks.
Scheme.
They were like, they had 3 sacks. They were averaging 3 sacks a game. I mean, if they average 3, if they can find the consistency, and this is with an overhaul defensive line, which should help a ton. I mean, B.J. Ojulari had 4 sacks last year. You didn't lose a double-digit guy. Like, you projected him as a double-digit guy.
You overvalued what he'd be able to do this year, and you didn't buy yourself insurance to ensure that you had protection against if he or Zaven Collins went down.
Yeah.
If we're sitting here at the midpoint, and this team has lost close games, and it's because their defense couldn't get home in the fourth quarter, it's going to be the unwritten rule. The Cardinals fumbled this like they did the previous offseason with the quarterback position. But this time, there aren't, in my opinion, any excuses throughout the rest of the roster. Like, bullish on the secondary, bullish on the receiving core, the offensive line, the quarterback had his best camp ever. Like, very rarely in year 2 of a rebuild are you able to point to a roster and identify, like, hey, there's only one glaring omission for this team to struggle at early. And we all know what it is. It's staring us right in the face.
Right. Look, it's just like last year, as you mentioned, the quarterback thing. There's different checkpoints throughout your NFL offseason, right? You've got pre-free agency, you've got free agency, you've got the trade market, and you've got the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And if you don't identify that, so if you're a general manager and you just allow your team to move forward, like, that's a strike against you. And I don't disagree with that potentially being a strike against Monty Ossenfort, waiting on that. But at the same time, like, free agency was probably the best opportunity.
Probably, yeah.
You and I firing up the PFF mock draft simulator, we know very well, as far as what we viewed as talented, projectable pass rushers, ended basically after the first round, right? So
I think you and I did a show in June,
yeah,
and we said, outside of Kyler Murray, is B.J. Ojulari like one of the most important players on the Cardinals this year? And now he's gone.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's something to watch. The Cardinals can take care of it with a phone call. I'm going to tell you, you don't need your phone to order some Shady Rays from ShadyRays.com. Just do it online. ShadyRays.com, 35% off with the bonus code PHNX for the premier polarized sunglasses at not a premium price, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Unlike the Cardinals with their pass rush group, I've loaded up on Shady Rays, and I am not regretting it for an instance, because, again, it fits my budget and it fits my fashion sense as well. They have a wide variety of premium sunglasses. You can shop right now online at ShadyRays.com. I love the timber. I love the all black. I love kind of the stylish ones that are blue they look like Macho Man Randy Savage. They're having, just like our friends at Game Time, they've got flash deals. it is a place where I'm going to tell you right now, I will only ever shop for sunglasses at ShadyRays.com. Like, I may never always work for PHNX Sports, right? I may not always live in Arizona, but I'm always going to use Shady Rays to get my premium sunglasses because I have found the perfect marriage of high quality shades that I can rotate every 18 to 24 months and not break the bank. Couple premium coffees, and I've got myself a pair of Shady Rays. That's where I'm at in this economy. How about you check them out online right now? Try yourself, and the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Return them for free. They don't work for you. ShadyRays.com, PHNX 35% off is the bonus code.
They're the perfect glasses to go out on any adventure in, and the perfect cooler for that also is Rugged Road. We love our friends over at Rugged Road, dedicating creating an innovative, durable outdoor gear for adventurers who they expect the best. They demand the best. Its floatability is unreal. Right now, their coolers, it's a unique cooler where it actually floats upright. Like if you're going down the salt like a madman. Damon, have you floated down the salt this summer?
I haven't. I've been trying to get out there. No one wants to hang out with me over here. I've been trying to get Diefenbach out there.
Yeah.
That guy's like, I mean, it's like you got to schedule 5 months in advance to hang out with him, you know?
Yeah, I've heard that.
You know who would love a Rugged Road cooler, though? Your in-laws in Yuma, Bo. They're
right.
big outdoorsy people. I mean, this is just the perfect kind of cooler for like going fishing, something like that. I mean, oh my God.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That is a perfect mark to sell some sweet Rugged Road gear to the in-laws in old Big Yuma. Get out there on the Colorado River.
Old Big Yuma.
That's right. And have your floatable Rugged Road cooler, lightweight in design. Unlike heavy-duty coolers, Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light. You're not going to lug it around. You're not going to throw your back out trying to get it off the back of Johnny's truck. It's going to be easy to pick up and take out to any outdoor adventure. Get ready for your summer adventures with Rugged Road coolers. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Use the code PHNX for 10% off your order. Lightweight, durable, always floating upright, perfect on land or in water. So leave your old heavy cooler at home. Get yourself the better cooler for the new season, the new hot season, and cool yourself off with some cold drinks in your Rugged Road cooler, your ultimate outdoor companion.
You and I don't agree on what to do with pass rusher, but I think we do agree that trading for CeeDee Lamb does not fit this team's timeline. You want to talk about not fitting a timeline. For whatever reason, you opened the X app, the Twitter app this morning, and there was a bunch of buzz, not only because the Dallas Cowboys continue their holdout with CeeDee Lamb, the former, 17th, 18th overall pick in 2020, friend, maybe best friend of Kyler Murray, but Michael Wilson was floated in a hypothetical trade for CeeDee Lamb, and I, for one, am offended by this trade.
And you used to be, pro CeeDee Lamb, and I don't think like you're anti CeeDee Lamb, right? Like you like to watch him play. He helped you win, get out of some fantasy troubles, right?
I love him as a player. Absolutely.
Great player, right? And Steve Keim had his options, Tristan Wirfs and Jedrick Willis and CeeDee Lamb, and he went with Isaiah Simmons.
Not good.
The Cardinals are paying for it, but now you've got CeeDee Lamb answering a quote from Jerry Jones that there's no sense of urgency to sign him to a new contract. Well, so people are going and cooking up some hypothetical trades. We had this one from was it Brett Coleman? He dropped this one, very respectable NFL analyst. If I'm Arizona, I'm offering Michael Wilson plus a first and a third rounder for CeeDee just to see what the old man says. The old man says yes. That's a first and a third and Michael Wilson and a brand new highest paid wide receiver in NFL history contract.
And people are freaking out because I want to trade a throwaway pick for Haason Reddick. The Cardinals don't need receiver help. Like I like CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
He's a great player. The Cardinals had an opportunity under the prior regime, as you mentioned, to add him. That ship has sailed. Like they're not. Cardinals have shown you, like, we're a draft and develop team with receiver, and we'll put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to use premium picks on them. Like Michael Wilson was probably the biggest surprise of the draft class last year. Why on earth would you trade him? And then they just used the 4th overall pick on their next number 1 receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. Doesn't make any sense. Again, I like Brett. He does good work on Twitter. And the Cardinals aren't in the business of trading a first and a third after using a first on a receiver this year. I mean, it does. The Cardinals offense doesn't need CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to just throw that out there. They have, in my opinion, a top 3 to 5 tight end. They've got a future, top 10 wide receiver. Somebody in Michael Wilson, as we've outlined, that everybody is high on now, suddenly because of the education they received from this fine podcast. Greg Dortch is a stud. They've got a bevy of backs. Like, I'm, bitching and moaning about the pass rush because it's abysmal. The offense should be one of the best in the NFL.
Right.
Like, I think everybody's going to be disappointed if this team's not averaging 26, 27, 28 points per game this year.
Mm-hmm.
Why on earth would you say, yeah, and then we'll just add CeeDee Lamb and then we'll drain our resources and we'll drain our cap?
Right.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Kyler Murray and Michael Wilson. I mean, if he's healthy, that's a 1,000-yard receiving tandem this year.
Yeah. It feels like, you've got a kind of a debate going on which mouths do you feed or prioritize feeding. Right. And it's like you added CeeDee Lamb and you've got Marv and then CeeDee, like that's great. But at the same time, I think, more is CeeDee going to embrace blocking as much as Mike Wilson was just waxing poetic yesterday in his post-practice press conference about, blocking and really kind of getting his hands dirty doing that. Like, I think, like, I was with you. I was a big CeeDee guy. Like, I saw what's not to like about CeeDee Lamb, the player.
Tremendous.
But it just it wouldn't make sense for the Arizona Cardinals to play in that sandbox and try to, give up the assets, a big time player that they're excited about himself and Michael Wilson. And then the huge contract is just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Wilson, like, to me, you mentioned the reason that they maybe don't want to trade for an external player is they want to build through the draft, right? And they want the kind of character that emulates throughout their locker room. Like, that's Michael Wilson. So it'll be going against everything that they talk about as a roster construction. And again, like, I'm not saying trade for Haason Reddick and trade B.J. Ojulari for Haason Reddick if B.J. Ojulari is the Michael Wilson of this team, where he's poised to go do this. But, like, if Michael Wilson was, God forbid, injured, like, maybe then you have a conversation. Michael Wilson's poised for monster year. And then you mentioned Greg Dortch, who's the apple of Jonathan Gannon's eye. I mean, this receiving core is loaded. I'm sorry, Dallas Cowboys, that your house isn't in order. Nobody's going to come bail you out if you're, Jerry Jones. Like, Dak Prescott wants like $60+ million per year, and they're starting an aging Zeke Elliott, and their offensive lines. And
Micah Parsons at running back in a couple plays.
Smart.
They're like, oh, we're gonna pay Micah the bag, so we got to make sure we get every dime out of him.
See, that's a trade I think we would do for a first and a third round pick and an extension, right? But yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Respectfully, Cardinals would laugh. I don't think the Cardinals would trade Michael Wilson and a first round pick for CeeDee Lamb. Like, I don't know if there ever be a trade scenario that would make sense for them to part ways with Michael Wilson and take on a big money contract receiver.
You want to take a trip around some preseason games?
Yeah, let's do it.
Twitter streets are telling us that Justin Fields' performance tonight won Russell Wilson the job in Pittsburgh.
Wait a minute. Is the cult, the clan of Justin Fields, are they gone? Did they leave?
People are saying that he made a couple pretty nice throws.
Yeah.
But
well, if you look at his stat line, you'll be like, hey, not bad for Justin Fields, 6 for 7, right?
Yeah.
But
he also took 2 bad sacks apparently, and then fumbled a snap twice.
He had multiple drive-killing sacks, multiple fumbled snaps.
So he's the exact same guy as he was
some good-looking
last
passes.
year.
Yep.
Interesting. I thought it was going to be the year.
Brett Coleman just tweeted out saying Russ won the job based off that performance.
Wow.
But Mike Tomlin did not look happy on the sideline during his multiple fumbles.
Yeah, it's almost like the Steelers don't have any QBs. When you have 2 QBs, you have no QBs.
We're going to talk about
cuties.
Malik Neighbors and his aura.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors and his 12 snaps, no targets last night.
Aura.
But he's got the greatest.
He doesn't have it.
It's the greatest training camp in the history of training camps of all time. And he's going to go out there and he's going to break every record because he can somehow throw the ball to himself and go 20 for 20 with 300 yards receiving.
Michael Penix, 9 for 16, 104 yards. Looks like he had a big 41-yard completion that people are excited about.
It was nice.
And then CJ Stroud and Tank Dell are no longer a fixture in our nightmares.
It's nice we can enjoy like
up.
good football in Houston now. Like we don't have to
Yeah.
badmouth them. We don't have to call them names. We don't have to shame them and make fun of them. That was probably the worst part. There was some lows down last year. Those were the lowest of the low. And
if we're about Penix, like if we're being honest, like shouldn't he be doing this? Isn't that kind of
like
what
shouldn't he be
the expectation should be? He's 25 years old. He's playing against backups. Like
he's 37 years old.
He should be cooking them. Good for him.
His day's done. He went. He got in there, got out. Now it's Taylor Heineke's day. The rest of the way, Skylar Thompson's not having a good day out there.
Not a good player. Not a good player.
Say that to the lead, bro. 17-10, bro.
What do you think about the idea for the Arizona Cardinals? If you're put in a hypothetical scenario where tomorrow the pass rush looks bad, you start calling around some teams in the NFL that have been playing this weekend, and do you make a trade before Indianapolis next week? Do you feel like tomorrow can tell you anything definitively on the pass rush, or do you feel like they're not going to have a full idea until training camp's over?
What I'm concerned, I think what's more dangerous is if this pass rush goes crazy this preseason. And you're like, oh, Victor Dumakaji, he had 2 sacks in the preseason. Did you see him? He was getting after the quarterback. Like, I think that's the most dangerous thing that can happen. Like, I hope they perform, people emerge, but at the same time, Monty Ossenfort, Dave Sears, front office continues to monitor the pass rush market.
Here's what I would say that, because was it last year or 2 years ago that Dumakaji had a big preseason?
It was 2 years ago, I think.
Okay. But that was under Vance Joseph, who is not good at his job. If he's performing under Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawls, like I will feel better about it. But again, who's the competition? Is it, street offensive tackles that he's smoking, right? Or is it some starters? Like we'll be able to know. We'll know if it's a Fugazi or if it's legitimate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very, very touchy subject with me and certain segments of this fan base right now, because they got so much good mojo, man. I would hate to see them lose shootouts upon shootouts to start this year.
Yeah.
I don't
discount the rest of the defense. Like I think they elevated the defensive line. I like the next level with their inside linebackers. I like what they added in the defensive secondary, and I expect people to emerge. But we know why it's a premium position, why it's so important. And that's I'm not sitting here and saying, just put my feet up and saying, let's just see how it goes. But I'm also not saying got to make a move right now.
Well, maybe something will fall into their lap and they'll get lucky and a relationship will pay off. What are you laughing at?
That's not like, Monty's a better GM than like just getting lucky.
Okay. I believe you. I agree with you.
It's not
in the draft.
Steve Keim getting a call from the Houston Texans organization saying, hey, it's not going to work out with D-Hop. Can we make a deal?
Why not? We need that. We need that energy. Super chats. Richard, 199. What does Yannick Ngakoue want? Supposedly he wants $10 million. Again, I have no issue with that. But I think the big question with Yannick is health. Like he hurt his ankle last year. And people are speculating that he can't pass a physical. And that may be turning people off if he can't pass a physical, and that he's also asking for 8 figures in monies. But yeah, we'll monitor it. But again, a little bit of a red flag that they haven't even approached Yannick. But again, is he even taking visits? I don't know. It feels like Chicago would bring him back if he was healthy. But Josh, $5. We haven't seen even this group play. Don't rush to overpay somebody when there will be some guys available. Don't forget D-line and cornerbacks create sacks. Sure. But again, like I'm thinking about hypothetical Josh, fourth quarter games against Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, and Geno Smith. Like, is anybody in this chat confident that their pass rush can make a difference in a one-possession game to help win you a pivotal game that could send you to play January football? Because again, like I don't think the pass rush, the lack of B.J. Ojulari is going to drop them from, a 10-win team to like a 6-win team. But I do think over time of the regular season, like it's going to rear its ugly head. If they don't add to this group, like, it will be apparent on certain NFL Sundays. I just have too much PTSD of last year. Not only was it bad, it was unavailable. They were onside kicking against teams like Philadelphia. Now, in large part, that was their defensive tackle group too. Their defensive line last year was unwatchable at times. Right. And you got now less talent, in my opinion, in edge rusher than you did last year. So there's not a magic elixir. I get that. I'm realistic to that. But man, with everything else going on with this team, all the good stuff you've got going on, don't let this be the wart on your season. Go out and show your guys that you're taking this serious. Hey, we're trying to make the playoffs. Kyler Murray's telling people this is the last time we're watching January football at home. But he can't rush the passer.
I don't know. Josh, $5 super chat. I like your passion. I love it. Let's see. Reddick wants $26 million over 4 years per the Jets side.
Like including this year. So he's 29, he'll be 30. So he wants to be paid $26 million when he's like 34.
He wants over $100 million contract.
Yeah, I'm probably not doing that, but figure something out.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe Haason Reddick literally never plays it down in football again.
What about when he is productive again and he's like wants a new deal and he doesn't show up to training camp next summer?
You feel like that would be a thing?
It's a thing right now.
I don't know. Part of me feels like he's taking advantage of the Jets and how dumb they are. And like how just unserious of a franchise they are. And you got Rodgers popping off at the mouth and all these issues. And I think he knows the Jets, like Saleh's a year from being fired. Rodgers' career could be done. Like he's like, you know what? These guys are desperate. They need to pay me. Cardinals, and to your point, you've kept this point. Cardinals are not desperate for Haason Reddick.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he would understand if he got traded one more time. Like this team, we'll work something out. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
But lot of question marks. But again, here's not a question that you don't need to ask because it's a statement. It's an assurance. We're going to be live tomorrow with your premier Arizona Cardinal halftime post-game coverage of the preseason opener. The New Orleans Saints come to town. Derek Carr and company against Desmond Ridder, Clayton Tune, and Marvin Harrison Jr. We will be live. Myself, Britton Golden, Bo Brack, Craig Morgan on the post-game show. Let's hope so.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, round-the-clock coverage at gophnx.com, PHNX Cardinals on Twitter. Bo, I'm fired up, man. Return to Glendale for some real actual football.
It's unbelievable. We're gonna be back, baby. Like draft season took forever. Couldn't wait to see that. Now we're already to preseason game. We're gonna watch the debut of Marvin Harrison Jr. Get your 18 collection out to celebrate. Get the MHJ, the Math Tee, or the Maserati shirt to celebrate. And it's the only way to sport and support Marv these days. Check it out. Yeah, the 18 collection. There it is. MHJ, Maserati Marv. 1 + 18 = 6. It's going to be, who pointed this out to us on Twitter? It's going to be 18 + 19 = 6 tomorrow. So maybe add a 9 with your Sharpie well,
don't draw on your shirt.
Maybe duct tape and then draw the 9 and put it on there right next to the 1. Little makeshift the Riddler tee.
We may not have a pass rush. We may not have a number 18 jersey to purchase, but we have the number 18 collection.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, that's enough for me.
And we got you and BG tomorrow at halftime to start off our coverage. It's going to be glorious.
Britton Golden can educate me on why the pass rush will be fine, or he will come to the dark side and we will both shame Bo on location.
It's going to be the third quarter. Damon and Britton are going to be like, where's Johnny? And then they're going to go up to the roof of this building and they're going to coax you inside and they're say, Johnny, get in here. It's the
And I'm going to be like, 0 sacks. Do you see this crash? If you're ready for the most overreaction post-game show, that's what we're going to get. No, I promise it's going to be filled with class, like this podcast, entertainment, vibes, and access you can't get anywhere else. Bo's going to be live at the stadium, folks. Ever heard of it? It's going to be awesome.
It is going to be great. We're going to get a first glimpse of the new on-field seating. The Concedas are going up.
Woo!
The State Farm is going to be a vibe tomorrow, folks. Yeah, look for it. But yeah, more importantly, year 2 of the JG era. It kicks off in the exhibition slate, preseason football tomorrow. I can't wait.
Love my team.
If they trade for Haason Reddick, you bet your ass we'll go live. We'll do a little.
No, Bo's not allowed to go. It's just me and Damon. Bo's not allowed to go live.
What are you talking about?
Pod.
If I'm jumping on that stream, I'm jumping on that emergency podcast.
Never.
So make sure you're subscribed and you got alerts set up to PHNX Sports on YouTube. And if you are listening to us on podcast, drop a 5-star rating, drop a review. It does wonders for us. But barring any emergency podcast, we'll talk to you tomorrow at halftime of Cards Saints. For Damon, Dawg, Johnny Venerable, I'm Bo Brack. We'll talk to you tomorrow. PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.